Hey everyone, my name is Marshall Mind, and this is going to be my fight prediction for UFC 182. Jon Jones, the light heavyweight champion, versus the Olympian and challenger Daniel Cormier. Now, these two guys have a lot of history. I'm sure if you've been following the fight promotion on YouTube, you have a pretty good understanding of why these two guys don't really like each other. But that's completely irrelevant right now. Who's nice, who's fake, who's humble, who's cocky, all that high school female drama is completely irrelevant right now. And what's important is that these two guys are undefeated. They're both elite level fighters, and in a few days they'll be locked in a 6-foot high, 750 square foot octagon, and they'll answer every single question that we all have. Who is the better fighter? Now, when I think about this fight and I think about what Jon Jones is good at and what DC is good at, it's really hard to say what's going to happen with any kind of certainty. So I'm just going to make an educated guess based on what I know about their fighting ability, and by Sunday morning, we'll see if I was right or if I was dead wrong. DC is a very good wrestler with really fast hands, explosive, good cardio. Much better cardio than most people think he has because of his body type. And let's not forget, he's incredibly strong and powerful. Not just that, the guy has a very, very high fight IQ. When you watch him fight, he doesn't really put himself in too much danger. He's never lost a round in MMA, he's never lost a fight, and he's been fighting guys capable of really hurting him badly, and this whole time he has managed to make them look mediocre. Add the fact that this guy trains with Cain Velasquez, who's arguably the most devastating fighter in MMA today, and you have a guy in DC who's gonna be a gigantic challenge for Jon Jones, pun intended. With Jon Jones, you're looking at the most talented fighter alive today. Out of GSP, Jon Jones is the most well-rounded fighter in MMA. He does everything really, really well. And most people are forgetting, this is not going to be a wrestler versus striker kind of fight. It's not going to be a wrestler versus wrestler kind of fight either. It's not going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be a complete mixed martial arts fight. And DC is going to be fighting the best mixed martial arts fighter in our generation. When it comes to kickboxing, he does it very, very well. When it comes to wrestling, he also does that extremely well. He has the most submissions in light heavyweight history. So this is a guy who has so many ways that he can win this fight. He doesn't just have to keep the fight on the outside. So when people say things like Jon Jones is gonna get ragdolled because, well, DC ragdolled Dan Henderson and he was able to ragdoll Josh Barnett, I just look at it as complete ignorance, pretty much. You're not looking at this fight the right way. There's so many things you have to consider when thinking about this fight. For one, in my opinion, this fight is not going to be decided by a wrestling or striking or jiu-jitsu or any of that. It's going to be decided by intelligence, cardio, game plan, confidence, and the athletic ability to execute whatever game plan it is their coaches come up with. For DC, he already knows that he's not going to win a fight against Jon Jones if he stands on the outside. That is just not going to happen. By his own admission, he knows that he needs to fight this fight at a distance that's going to allow him to hit Jon and also allow him to control Jon Jones. His only chance of winning this fight is to get on the inside. He's not going to knock Jon Jones out from the outside, and he's definitely not going to outpoint Jon Jones, so that has already taken away one way for him to win. Being on the outside is just not an option for Daniel Cormier, but for Jon Jones, being on the outside is definitely an option. He can win the fight if he's on the outside, so that's an advantage for Jon Jones. What about the inside? By inside, I'm talking about close boxing range. Has Daniel Cormier demonstrated that he's a very good inside fighter? Yeah, he most definitely has. He can fight effectively on the inside. But is he a better inside fighter than Jon Jones? Has Jon Jones demonstrated his inside fighting ability inside the octagon against power punchers? Yes, in beautiful and devastating fashion. All you have to do is watch his fight against Glover Teixeira to see that. a guy that was supposed to obliterate Jon Jones if he gets inside that long, gigantic reach. So, on the outside, DC will not be able to beat Jon Jones. And on the inside, he's going to be facing a guy who's fascinating with elbows, hand fighting, uppercuts, solid combinations, and the ability to deflect strikes and avoid taking damage. So even on the inside, DC is not exactly better than Jon Jones as much as most people are thinking. If you look at their fights without bias at all, you'll see that Jon Jones is the more efficient and impressive fighter inside. And so in my opinion, I also think Jon Jones is the better inside fighter. So he's better on the outside, that's for sure, and he's possibly better on the inside. That's an advantage for Jon Jones. That gives Jon Jones another way that he can win this fight. What about intelligence? Daniel Cormier has never lost a round in MMA. That's because he's very intelligent. He's intelligent enough to put himself in situations in fights that would allow him to avoid taking damage while causing damage. That's a guy with a very high fight IQ, okay? He has a very high fight IQ. But does he have a higher fight IQ than Jon Jones? Personally, I don't think so. I would say that Jon Jones has fought every single style imaginable in the octagon. He has fought the aggressive power punchers. He has fought the jiu-jitsu black belts. He has fought the technical, fast, sneaky, and elusive strikers. He has fought the confident, explosive, undefeated wrestlers. He's fought the young, tall, durable, confident, fast, and talented boxer in Alexander Gustafsson, and he has found a way to crack every single code, to solve every puzzle, to climb every mountain. And until he fought Gustafsson, he pretty much did it with ease. So this is also a guy who's extremely intelligent and has a very high fight IQ. So winning on the outside is not an option for DC. Winning on the inside is not a guarantee. What about wrestling? Well, DC is obviously the better wrestler. You don't get to the Olympics in wrestling if you aren't one of the best. That's a fact. So when it comes to pure wrestling skills, and when you look at what these two guys have accomplished in wrestling, DC definitely has the edge by a long, long mile. But it's not as big of an edge as most people might think. Jon Jones is a wrestler too, who is very capable of taking DC down as well. When people think about the wrestling in this fight, they can only imagine Jon Jones being on the defense, just constantly defending takedowns over and over again, never on the offense. And that is faulty reasoning. Jon Jones is a very good wrestler too, who has the ability to take anyone down in the cage, and DC knows this as well, which is why he is also working on his wrestling too. If he was so confident that Jon Jones couldn't possibly take him down, as some fans are thinking, he won't bother training his wrestling at all. But if you look at some of the footage that has been released, you can see him bringing in a Russian Olympic wrestler, a gold medalist, to help him with his wrestling. That tells you that DC is not underestimating Jon's wrestling ability at all, and neither should you. So the idea that DC will just go in there and take Jon Jones down over and over again whenever he feels like it is just insanity. When Jon Jones knows he will be trying to put him on his back, it's just not going to be easy to do. It might even not happen. Another aspect of fighting that people are not talking about is jiu-jitsu and submissions. Jon Jones has the most submissions in light heavyweight history for a very good reason. The guy knows how to snatch up submissions at extremely weird angles. So DC won't be completely safe if he does manage to take Jon Jones down. Jon is not just gonna lay there on his back. He's not gonna be a fish out of water like most people think. He's gonna be constantly working for submissions like Anthony Pettis does. DC will have to work really hard to actually control Jon Jones on the ground, and he will definitely be defending against a lot of submissions, or else he will get tapped. So all in all, these two guys are super talented, they're very intelligent, and they can both win this fight. But how do I think this fight would actually go down? What's my actual prediction? Well, I think DC is going to try to do to Jon Jones what Cain Velasquez did to Junior Dos Santos. And I got to be honest with you guys, as a big fan of Jon Jones, that makes me nervous. Jon Jones is not exactly a counterpuncher. His footwork is not as fluid or fast as that of Gustafsson. And he's a guy that does really, really well when he's moving forward. When he has guys against the cage, when he's on top of them, when he's controlling the range and distance, pretty much he does much better when he's imposing his will, when he has full control of the fight. And I just haven't seen enough of him fighting while moving backwards to determine exactly how he'll do if DC does succeed in backing him up. I see Daniel Cormier trying to make this a very frantic and chaotic fight. He's going to try to get Jon Jones to be reckless, shoot desperate takedowns, throw reckless shots in an attempt to get DC off him. He'll try to confuse Jon Jones. When Jon Jones thinks he's about to strike, that's when he's going to shoot. And when Jon Jones thinks he'll shoot, that's when he'll strike. He won't just use his boxing like most people think. He's going to use kicks. You guys are going to see it. DC will use kicks. He'll use knees, everything. He's definitely going to try to kick Jon Jones's legs. He's going to try to create chaos in there because he knows that is his best chance of either getting a takedown or landing some gigantic bomb that could hurt Jon Jones. Now, if Jon Jones is as smart as I know he is, then he's already thought about that. His team has already thought about that, and they understand that the biggest weapon you need for a style like that to be effective is cardio, endurance, gas. Not fart, but like gas, like cardiovascular. You know what I mean? And the best way to remedy that style is to do it right back to them. This is why I said this fight will be a cardio war. You gotta meet him in the middle of that cage. Bite down on your mouthpiece and do to DC what he's trying to do to you, Jon Jones. The best way to stop a kicker is to kick him right back. You kick him better and harder and faster. And the best way to stop a puncher is to punch him right back, harder, faster. And the best way to stop a wrestler that wants to pressure you, put you against the cage, use dirty boxing, take you down, beat you up, do it over and over again until he breaks you, is to go out there and do it right back to him. At no point in this fight can either of them afford to be on the receiving end of a storm. Jon Jones has to go out there and attack DC with everything he's got. He has to hit Daniel Cormier with as many combinations as he possibly can. There will be no time to relax and pace yourself and pick your shots. No, you gotta go out there, hit him hard, and keep hitting him until he falls down or until the final bell sounds. So I believe DC is gonna come out and try to overwhelm Jon Jones like Cain Velasquez overwhelmed JDS. And if Jon Jones allows DC to back him up over and over and over again, he doesn't go on the attack immediately and starts being one-dimensional like JDS, he is going to lose this fight 100%. But I don't think Jon Jones is gonna let that happen. I know Jon Jones knows how he could lose this fight. He knows what he needs to do to win. He has the skills to do it. He has the cardio to not only withstand the storm that DC is going to try to put on him, but he also has the cardio and skills to reverse it and put that same storm on DC. I believe Jon Jones is going to do to DC, or at least try to do to DC, what DC wants to do to Jon Jones. It's what Jon Jones does every single time. And I believe strongly that Jon Jones is going to win this fight by decision. A lot of people might think that DC will just take Jon Jones down at will, but I don't think DC will get a single takedown. I am predicting right now that Daniel Cormier will not get a single takedown on Jon Jones. And if I'm wrong about this, well then shame on me. But that's what I truly believe, and in a few days, we'll find out if I'm right or if I am dead wrong. So, in my prediction, Jon Jones wins this fight by decision. He might give up a few rounds, well, not a few rounds, he might give up a round or two. Because, I think DC might be able to back him up and put him against the cage occasionally. But when this fight is over, Jon Jones will have his hands raised. He will defend that belt, and he'll remain the light heavyweight champion, and that is what I truly believe is going to happen. But hey, this is just one man's opinion, and you are free to disagree 100%. We can still be friends after you disagree with me, I promise you. Just let me know in the comments below what you think about this fight. How do you think it's gonna go? Who do you think will win? And how do you think they'll do it? Please don't leave any dumb comments. Don't tell me Jon Jones is a nigger or Jon Jones is a fake and a phony and you wish he gets his head knocked off clean. That doesn't tell me anything about your intelligence. That tells me nothing. That just tells me you are a blind Jon Jones hater, and comments like that are useless, pathetic. They add nothing to the conversation, and I'll just pretty much look at you like a troll if you leave a comment like that. So let me know if you think DC will win. How do you think he's gonna win? Explain it to me. Let me understand your reasoning, your logic behind that. But that's pretty much it for now. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys soon. Be safe.